Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over the best methods of practice for console Fortnite players. If you're trying to become a better Fortnite player, which I'm guessing the vast majority of people are, there's so many different things you can do to try to accomplish that. Just to name a few off the top of my head, and we'll discuss some of these in this video, you have box fights, zone wars, edit courses, 1v1s, scrims, free building, the list goes on and on. And even though all of those things I just mentioned will help you get better at the game, some methods of practice are undoubtedly better than others. And I think it's also important to consider that if you're a console player, some methods of practice are going to be either more or less effective for you than they would be for PC players. So I'll be sure to cover all that throughout this video, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so I'm not necessarily going to go in any sort of order like worst to best here. We're just going to go one by one through each practice method, discuss what's good about it, what's bad about it, and in general whether or not I'd recommend it over the other options you have. So let's start with a really popular one to kick things off, Zone Wars. So back towards the end of Chapter 1, Zone Wars was probably the single most popular practice minigame that people played, but it has definitely lost a little bit of popularity over time. And that isn't really a knock on it, so to say. It's probably just some combination of people getting a bit bored of it, and also the fact that there are just way more minigame and practice options now than there were back then. So let's start with the positives of Zone Wars, and there are definitely a lot of them. First off, Zone Wars is ridiculously easy to play, mainly due to creative mode matchmaking. You can be playing the game at 3 AM when very few people are online, but if you queue into a Zone Wars game in the creative hub, you'll find a full one within about a minute no matter what. Now, the quality of these matches can vary a bit, and as I mentioned in a previous video, you can run into teamers, but just having the ability to play this mode against other people 24/7 is really awesome. Another major positive of Zone Wars is that it's pretty much constant action for however long you're alive, and you're basically guaranteed to get into a wide variety of fights. Build battles for high ground, low ground box fights, medium range AR battles, fights where you try to storm hold someone or you get storm held, you name it, Zone Wars probably has it. And unlike most minigames, the majority of Zone Wars maps use fairly randomized loadouts each round, and that's pretty realistic to what you're going to experience in actual games. Some matches you'll have a great AR but a bad shotgun, or maybe bad weapons but a lot of healing. It makes you revolve your game around your inventory, which is a very important skill to learn. So definitely a lot of positives, but Zone Wars also isn't perfect. I think the biggest negative is the fact that third partying is just ridiculously common on most maps. That's obviously a consequence of putting 10 plus players in such a small and confined space, and sure, dealing with third partying is a skill that's good to learn, but at times it just feels impossible to get a true 1v1 fight. There's nothing worse than making a really good play on someone in a box or build fight, and then 3 players just start lasering both you and the guy you're fighting with ARs. The next practice method we're going to discuss is box fighting. I'd say ever since about December or January, this has been the most popular practice method in the entire game, and that's a major reason why box fighting in real matches has become more and more popular over time. So starting with the positives, much like with Zone Wars, box fights can be played at all times via creative mode matchmaking. And sort of related to that, a good thing about box fights compared to Zone Wars is that if you want to play with your friends, you really only need one other person. There are plenty of maps for box fight 1v1s or 2v2s, but for Zone Wars it really doesn't work unless you have at least 4 or 5 other people on the map. Now, the biggest positive of box fighting is that by playing the mode, you're focusing very heavily on a few different crucial skills: editing, shotgun aim, piece control, etc, etc. And like I alluded to earlier, all those skills are becoming more and more important as time goes on. But there's also a negative side to that as well. Sure, it's great to solely focus on box fighting skills, but the downside is you're pretty much ignoring everything else. And I also think it's worth noting that pretty much every popular box fighting map uses AR pump, which is kinda unrealistic for two reasons. First off, the obvious one is that the pump isn't even in the game right now, and second, there's no SMG. Now, you're supposed to use the AR as an SMG substitute, but there's a huge difference between barrel stuffing someone with a blue AR and, say, a purple P90, and I think that difference matters a lot for console players specifically, because if you think about it, SMGs are basically their bread and butter in close-range fights. So box fighting is no doubt a great method of practice, but there are some considerable flaws. And I also think it's a bit less valuable for console players because box fighting is less popular in general than it is on PC. Next up, we have creative mode training courses. Obviously, this can be broken down into a bunch of subcategories, aim training, edit training, etc., but I want to mostly make this about training courses in general. So the biggest positive of training courses is the fact that they put the most emphasis on 1 to 2 specific skills as possible. If you want to improve your editing speed or maybe your aim, you can load up a specific creative course and only work on that specific skill for however long you want. You'll probably do more edits in 5 minutes on an editing map than you would in like an hour of any other possible game mode out there. But as much as that can be a positive, it can also very easily be a negative if you tunnel vision too hard on one skill. A player that puts in 10 hours over the span of a few days playing zone wars or box fights is no doubt going to improve more than the guy who puts in the same 10 hours but only on edit or aim courses. So the way you want to use creative courses is as a supplement to your other forms of practice. A perfect comparison for this would be weightlifting in a sport like football, basketball, or baseball. Pretty much every top level athlete's gonna lift and do cardio daily to stay strong and in shape, but that's more of a secondary activity compared to actually practicing the sport they play. So for Fortnite, I'd recommend something like 10 minutes of creative courses a day, and I think that's something even really busy people should be able to do pretty much daily. The next method of practice I want to discuss are 1v1 build battles. The main positives of 1v1s are fairly similar to what I said in the Zone Wars section. Even though most fights start as a battle for high ground, you'll also get in a lot of box fighting practice as well. Plus, no matter how the fight ends up unfolding, you're pretty much guaranteed to be doing a lot of editing and aiming. Plus, because it's a 1v1, you only need one semi-reliable friend, and as long as you have that, you can play whenever you want. However, there are obviously some negatives here as well. Although players have become more and more willing to box up and play low ground even in these 1v1s, you can still get into a bad habit of overbuilding really easily. Most maps use unlimited materials, so unlike in real games, you can just build forever with no consequences at all. So I think 1v1s are kinda similar to creative courses when it comes to how you want to use them as a method of practice. I honestly think 1v1ing a player who's close to your skill level is the best possible way to improve your general mechanics, but at the same time, you don't want to overdo it because it can build some bad habits. The final practice method I want to briefly touch on is actually playing regular Battle Royale. So I guess this can broadly apply to public matches, arena mode, and maybe even scrims as well. The main positive of actually playing the game as a method of practice is that the variety of situations you'll encounter can't be emulated by anything else. In real games, you're always going to be fighting different types of players in different types of fights, in different locations, with different loot, etc. Zone Wars does have at least a little bit of variety, but obviously nothing even close to the real thing. The biggest negative of real games, however, are the constant long gaps you're going to get between fights. If you die off spawn frequently in games, you can seriously play for like 30 minutes straight while only getting into maybe 4 to 5 total fights. In box fights, zone wars, or anything else we discussed, you'll definitely never see that little action even if you're the first one to die every single round. So overall, each practice method that I discussed has very specific positives and negatives that you need to consider. If your main goal is to improve your mechanics, for example, things like creative courses and 1v1s are great, but playing regular games will barely help you. It's up to you to pick and choose the types of practice that best fit your needs as a player. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down the comment section below. Of the ones that we discussed, which practice method do you personally think is the best? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.